This video is not sponsored by G Fuel as I have no subscribers. However, if you'd like to change that, you can press the button below. Thank you. 2012 was one heck of a year. The original incarnation of Mega, called Mega Upload, was taken down by the FBI for allegations of piracy. The Italian cruise ship Costa Concordia ran aground, capsized, and ultimately sank, killing at least 32 people. London held a massive party for the 2012 Olympic Games, and Barack Obama was re-elected President of the United States. Other news included Roblox, of all things, getting hacked, and Microsoft releasing Windows 8. But all of that pales in comparison to the release of arguably Disney's greatest TV show of all time, Jake and the Neverland Pirates Season 2. Not really. Alex Hirsch's Gravity Falls first aired June 15, 2012 on the Disney Channel and would later go on to be aired on Disney XD, then Disney+. The series received nearly universal acclaim from its release through to its finale around 4 years later, becoming Disney XD's highest-rated show in 2015 and early 2016, and allegedly setting viewership records for the channel. This is no small feat considering exactly how massive Disney and Disney XD are, producing such cash cows as Phineas and Ferb or Jake and the Neverland. The show itself follows 12-year-old twins Dipper and Mabel Pines, who are dropped off from their hometown in California to stay the summer in a place called Gravity Falls, Oregon, with their great-uncle, or grunkle, Stan, the owner and founder of the Mystery Shack. The Mystery Shack itself is a tourist trap filled with BS mystical attractions, such as pictures of Godzilla or a half-naked Seuss, the janitor for the Mystery Shack, wearing a papier-mâché question mark. Besides Grunkle Stan's eccentricities, everything seems more or less normal until Dipper stumbles on an old notebook, which reveals to the twins a darker side of the town with potential vampires, gnomes, or ghosts at nearly every turn. On paper, it sounds like a hybrid of the aforementioned Phineas and Ferb and something like Stranger Things, but it's surprisingly fresh and does a good job differentiating itself from its contemporaries. Where most shows might be serious to the point of overbearing with its mythical antagonists, Gravity Falls adds a layer of comedic effect and lightheartedness to its own creatures without losing any real sense of urgency or danger, in most cases. As with all things, there are episodes which seem to push the envelope too little or too much, such as Headhunters and Seuss and the Real Girl, but more often than not, the balance is pretty much stunning. The same can be said of the surprisingly mature segments which deal with the Pines family's quieter, everyday life. Every interaction seems to have a nice duality to it, with a lot of lightheartedness on the surface, but either future significance or a grounded, more serious topic accompanying it. The moments when we get to see Dipper's insecurity about his relationship with Grunkle Stan, or his whole forbidden love-esque crush on an older teen, Wendy Corduroy, never dragged on or felt wooden. The same goes for Seuss's father-like admiration of Stan, or those moments where Pacifica, who we'll get to later, would hesitate between helping Dipper and Mabel or living up to the expectations of her parents. This all felt natural and hardly felt like a fictional story at all. This makes sense, as Hirsch said in an interview that the show and its characters were based on his own childhood memories of living in California with his twin sister Ariel and Grandpa Stan. Speaking of characters, let's take a deeper look at them, starting with Dipper himself. Going back to that interview, Hirsch described himself as a neurotic kid always carrying around disposable cameras just in case, which, if that's not Dipper, I don't know what is. He's a jumpy 12-year-old who's entering the wonderful worlds of hormones and boredom, an ever-volatile combination which leads him to be both the series' most relatable character, at least for me, and the most well-written. Because he's based on the writer's own childhood, he's easy to write. Hirsch knows exactly what he would have done in these situations as a kid, which makes it incredibly simple to have a genuine character with genuine flaws as the main focus. Over the course of the series, he becomes more confident and ends up prioritizing family above his own interests, something he struggled with earlier in the show. Overall, being the main character, on his own, he's fine. He's believable and likable, but like a majority of main characters, he's better when he's with one of the side characters. This isn't a bad thing, and it feeds into his decision to stay with Mabel rather than to pursue a fascinating career in sciencey stuff. But it makes those moments where Dipper is reflecting on himself less impactful than those same type of moments with other characters like Stanford, Stanley, and even Seuss. Now, Mabel is a real trip. There are layers to her I can't begin to read into, and I highly recommend Just a Robot's video on the topic, which will be linked in the description below. To make a long story short, she seems really sweet and innocent, but is actually pretty manipulative, and panics when the object of her manipulation, Dipper, might leave. By the way, this is in no way a judgment on Ariel Hirsch, and you should not take it as such. I'm certain a large degree of her character was fictionalization, and not a true reflection of who she is. Grunkle Stanley is an incredible character, with plenty of flaws but a good heart and a deep love for his family and friends despite a gruff, selfish exterior. To put it simply, he was also a twin who grew apart from his sibling, and their bickering causes his brother to be trapped in another dimension, which doesn't sound like it makes sense, but it does. He feels an incredible sense of guilt because of this, and doesn't stand for arguments between Dipper and Mabel as a result. This is extremely genuine and makes Stanley a likable character that almost forces you to feel bad for him. When they eventually save his twin, Stanford, Stanley wants them all to be a real family, but doesn't want Dipper to hang around his brother too much because he's afraid that his experiments might lure Dipper away from his own sister or bring danger towards them. It really shows that despite his nigh-constant mistakes, he truly wants the best for everyone, even going so far as to literally lose his mind to defeat the series' main antagonist, Bill Cipher. Every other recurring character in the series also shows surprising depth, from Seuss, whose father leaves him at a young age, to Wendy, who's constantly under pressure from her stereotypically masculine family, and even to Gideon, a brat who is used by his family, and vice versa, and constantly seeks revenge against the Pines for stealing his paying customers. Interestingly, there seems to be a theme of trouble coming from the characters' families, either mistreating and using them, or not caring about them. The same is true of Pacifica Northwest, the rich girl antagonist to Mabel. This is the character arc that constantly sticks out as dumb to me in a series of otherwise excellent ones. See, Pacifica starts off as an arrogant piece of human garbage that you're supposed to hate, constantly lying about and berating others, and just generally being horrible. At least until whatever comeuppance she receives at the end of the episode, where she'll leave throwing a tantrum or telling the twins she'll get her revenge or whatever. This is the case for the first several episodes she appears in until the Gulf War, where Mabel challenges Pacifica to mini-golf to get revenge for the time she's had to put up with her bigoted crap. Pacifica accepts, and Mabel practices until that time comes. During her practice, the twins discover a group of living golf balls called the Lilliputians, who they convince to help them win. Ultimately, things go wrong, and the twins have to save Pacifica from being kidnapped by the Lilliputians. In the end, Pacifica thanks them and ends up bonding with them to a degree and complimenting Seuss. Later in the episode Northwest Mansion Mystery, Dipper helps Pacifica try to exorcise a ghost haunting her family's mansion. As it turns out, the ghost was one of a group of lumberjacks who were previously promised attendance to the Northwest's yearly parties in exchange for their work on the mansion. After their years of hard work and sacrifice, the Northwest locked them out of the mansion, and they died during a mudslide that was the result of their construction. This realization causes Dipper to explode angrily and snap at Pacifica about her being just another link in the world's worst chain, and storm off. Pacifica doesn't agree with her family's terrible actions, however, and sacrifices her pride to work with and save Dipper, even against her parents' will. This starts off what could have been the best and most dramatic character arc of the series. However, that's not what we received. In the last episode of the series, it is revealed that the Northwest Mansion, along with all their money, was destroyed. This degrades and cheapens the entire progression of Pacifica to this point. Good character growth demands good return on that by the end of the story. Instead, this was sacrificed for haha funny, capitalist man lost money. While I admit I laughed at this the first time, I think it did more damage to the character progression than made the episode more enjoyable. This is just my opinion though, and I have no problem with anyone disagreeing here. Ultimately, I think Gravity Falls was a great show with great potential that it delivered on. The high ratings can easily be attributed to its excellent plot, its fun soundtrack, clean visuals, or its cast of colorful and bizarre characters, all of which come together to make something truly special. Was it perfect? No. Does it have a great fan base? Also no. But for what it is really great. I wouldn't go so far as to call it an instant classic, but I know I will watch it for years to come. It's a solid 8.5 out of 10 for me, but I wouldn't blame you for putting it higher. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have about 133 episodes of Star Wars The Clone Wars to watch, so I'm gonna go now.